Welcome back to the CreaTech stage at the CogX Hybrid Festival 2021, co-curated with the UK Creative Industries Council, a forum between government and industry which brings together all sectors of the creative industries, from film to fashion, advertising to architecture, games to music, performance to publishing. You can find out more about us at thecreativeindustries.co.uk. I'm Janet Hull, and I lead the CreaTech programme of the Creative Industries Council. And I'm also Director of Marketing Strategy at the IPA. And it's my pleasure to be your MC for the afternoon. We've got a fantastic session ahead of us right now. Please share your thoughts and comments and get to know each other in the chat. And ask questions through the Q&A. And on your social channels, please use the hashtags CreaTechUK and CogX 2021. The session title is Playing for the Planet. Games are now played by 40% of the global population. And in this session, you'll hear from thought leaders in the games industry from Helsinki, Texas, and London, who are revolutionising our screens, so they're not only a source of entertainment, but a force for positive change. I'm delighted to welcome Playmob founder Jude Ower as moderator and curator of this session. Her company was instrumental in helping the UN gather the data for and launch the Playing for the Planet report, covering how gaming companies have followed through on their climate commitments. Thanks very much, Jude, and over to you.
Thanks, Janet. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I love CogX, and it's great to be back on stage, or the virtual stage. And I'm really, really excited about the panel we're doing today, because it's with two of the most inspirational gaming founders that I know. So if I can welcome to stage John Hanke, the founder and CEO of Niantic, and Ilkka Paananen, the founder and CEO of Supercell. Welcome.
Hey, Jude. Thank you.
Thanks, Jude.
Hi.
Great to be here.
Delighted to be here.
It's great to have you here. Really, really exciting half an hour or 40 minutes that we've got to have a chat about how games are really making a positive impact. So I'm really passionate about this area ever since kind of 2010, when I heard Jane McGonigal talk on TED, and she wrote a book which basically said at the time we were spending 3 billion hours per week playing games. If we were to get to 21 billion hours, we could start to solve some of the world's most pressing problems like climate change, poverty, obesity. And right now we're at 3 billion people playing for an average of 7 hours a week. So if we do some quick maths, we're at 21 billion hours a week. So it's a really, really exciting moment. And so this session is just, it couldn't be more perfectly timed, because I really want to spend the time today talking about how you both have been tackling issues within your own studios. So firstly, I want to talk about playing for the planet and the climate, and what we're doing to protect the environment. It's a common theme and a common thread that I think we're all very passionate about. And you're both members of the Playing for the Planet Alliance. So the Alliance was set up in 2019, which is now 30 game studios and publishers, coming together to raise awareness of and help to protect the environment and the planet that we live on. And so you're both members, and so I'd love to start with Ilkka. Because earlier that year, before the Alliance was even created, Supercell made a commitment to become carbon neutral. And that really became a blueprint for other studios to follow. So can you just tell me a bit more about what it means to you to be part of the Alliance and what you're doing within Supercell for the planet?
Sure. So first of all, thanks for having me here today. So first, like the reason why we sort of wanted to join the Playing for the Planet or the Alliance, it really is simple. So as you just said, billions and billions of people play games these days, and we thought that it'd be great to kind of leverage our access to these people to fight the climate change. And of course, naturally, if the games industry works together, we will be able to have a much bigger impact rather than if just companies work alone. And by sharing sort of the best practices, I feel that we can do a much better job.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, it's power of the crowd, isn't it? It's the power of the force together. And John, I know that over the past few years you've done initiatives like beach cleanups through Pokemon Go, and you've got your sustainability days as well. Could you tell us a bit more about your role in Playing for the Planet Alliance and what you've been doing at Niantic?
Yeah, I mean, we're really excited to be part of it. I think climate change is, it's sort of the existential crisis of the 21st century, and we all need to do our part to see what we can do to address it. We came at Niantic in from a little bit of a different perspective, in the sense that we really wanted to set up our mission as a company and to organize kind of everything we do around something that we felt would make a positive impact on the world. And for us, that's about getting people outside and walking in the world and meeting one another and engaging with their community. And, I think as that relates to climate change, the whole idea of walkable cities and promoting that, just promoting people being out on foot and building stronger communities is, the biggest thing that we can do to impact that. And we really put all of our efforts kind of behind that sort of meta goal. And, that's been our approach. We're about getting people outside and on foot.
Brilliant, thank you, John. And Ilkka, could you tell us a bit more about your carbon negative program?
Sure. So I think it was 2018 when they kind of first started to talk about this, and it really was the Supercellians who brought this up. And I think it started by us sort of compensating our business flights. So that's where it started. But very quickly we sort of had more and more discussions about this internally, and people, just like all the people who work at Supercell, just wanted to do more. And then they sort of came up with this idea that what if we really tried to become like not just carbon neutral, but even carbon negative, and we would sort of look at the kind of totality, like our entire footprint. So not just the kind of a footprint that is caused by running our servers and all of those things and the office and all that, but also like we started to look like could we somehow offset also the footprint caused by people who play our games. And when we work with numerous kind of consultants and a few data scientists, and we really came up with a kind of model which enabled us to estimate what's our kind of total what's the size of our total footprint like. And then we start to use these sort of carbon offsetting services to offset that amount. And then at some point we not only do we kind of offset that, but they also wanted to become as I said, sort of carbon negative, so even offsetting more than what we cause. And they also had a big discussion I think a year ago with a certain group in our company, and really how our people think about this. They actually don't think about this as a kind of give back or philanthropy. They see it's just something that we really should do if you are kind of a responsible company and you really care about the planet. So super proud of this program that our people put together. And I think since then we've sort of shared, we almost treat this as a kind of open source project. So we've been sharing this program that we have with many companies in the games industry, but even with companies outside the games industry. So for example, with companies like Volt, who are in food delivery and those type of industries. So yeah, but I mean all the credit of course goes to all the people who put this together, and super grateful for the industry as a whole that they really have taken this on.
But it's great, as a studio, you've been kind of, I think, that role model in terms of the blueprint for how a studio could become carbon neutral, if not carbon negative. And I think you're totally right. It's something that we don't really think about in our day-to-day. And I guess as we've become used to being more online, we're going to have more of a footprint. I was in a meeting earlier and we were talking about how our data consumption will have a bigger carbon footprint than consumer air travel, which is just insane. And it's going to go up, the more we're consuming data and we're online. So, I love the fact that the industry has come together and thought, right, we don't want people to stop playing. What we want people to do is just think about and, offset and be able to be responsible with our online time, which is incredible. I'm going to move on to a slightly different topic, unless John, unless there's anything else you want to add on the climate side.
Well, I just wanted to comment on something that Ilkka said, about employees sort of taking it as a given that, they want to do this kind of work. I would concur with that. I think, it's been really important for us to be a mission-focused company. I think it's a competitive advantage in terms of attracting the best talent. The best people in the world really want to use their skills and abilities to make a positive impact on the world, and they're really expecting that from employers. And we compete in a really tough, talent market in California against, Facebook and Google and all those companies. And, having a mission that's geared towards addressing some of these major problems like climate change, and it being a place where people feel like they can come and their work is going to make an impact is it's an asset.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and I think it's becoming more and more important. And if you look at the sort of sort of a youth and the younger generation, it's even more important for them. And I think like when I talk to people internally, like often I hear that obviously like they are at Supercell to create great games, and that's what drives them. But then if they know that if I'm I am successful and my team is successful in creating these great games, and of course there's the kind of a financial benefit and all that comes in. But not only I get the benefit, my company gets a benefit, but there's also going to be benefit for for the greater good. It's just it somehow just feels like better to come to work every day. That's what I've heard from many at Supercell. So great point by John.
Jude, I wanted to you asked about the cleanup work that we did, and I did want to comment on that. Jane McGonigal did this great service to us all by illuminating, how games can be used to motivate and align people against some of these important challenges. And, with what we do in terms of bringing people together in the real world, we host these events. We've had over 7 million people come together in real life to meet up, and sometimes 100,000 people in a single day, sometimes, 10 people meeting together in a park. But when you have people coming together in groups like that, it opens up this whole new avenue for using, games and the motivations that they can create for people to do things. So one of the things that we did, Jude, is working with Sylvia Earle, I think somebody that you're familiar with, and is a big hero of mine in the ocean conservation world, is we organized those groups, 500 of them, working with 500 different nonprofits globally on Earth Day to do cleanups around the world. And to be able to take digital and then connect it with the real world and then have that result in real action being taken, in the physical world, I think, takes Jane's thesis sort of all the way through, to completion, and really proves that, games can lead to effort and energy and work that ultimately is making a positive impact. So it's really exciting to see the digital and the physical, be able to come together for good, in that way.
Exactly. And I remember those pictures really clearly, just like from all over the world, seeing people out there. Like you said, I remember there was a picture of like a man and his son, and then there's a picture of 500 people getting together and all the rubbish that was collected as well. It really brings home just how much we need to do to be able to clean up and protect our planet, but also how people are so willing to do it when they're given an opportunity. And I love this whole I love that we talked about. That's on the player side, but also the employee side. If you think about the power of the industry, it's the players, but the employees, make it happen as well. So, we've got a double force there of the power of good.
Yeah, I have to say, John, that I was so inspired about that as well. And, for two reasons. So one, I think the beauty of your game is that it really brings people together. And I know so many people who've actually made new friends through the game. But not only did you do that, but then also somehow the game was used to do something really good for the planet, by cleaning these beaches. So I think that's just so inspiring.
Well, it's nice of you to say that, Ilkka, and everybody should know that you were very generous with us in terms of letting me come and giving me some good advice and mentoring me when we were starting out. So we really appreciate that.
Brilliant. Yeah, you're both inspirational to me. So yeah, I'm just really excited to be on this panel with you both. So no, thank you for that. I think the comments around the planet. I wanted to kind of start with that as a theme because it's so close to us, and we're all part of the alliance. And but I also want to kind of talk about some of the other efforts that you've been doing within your organisation. So John, I know that you've been doing a lot around Black Lives Matter. So can you talk to us a bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, we were confronted with that. We were living in the midst of that last summer, as many were around the world, and it was something that our employees really demanded that we be part of. And it was something that we just felt like we had to be involved in and try to make a positive impact in. It was such a difficult time. And what we decided to do is we had one of these big events coming up, our annual Pokemon Go Fest, which normally takes place in the real world. Last year, it was a purely virtual event, because of COVID. So, yet another kind of complication that the world was going through. But we took a pretty bold initiative for a company our size. And we said, we're going to take all of the ticket proceeds and donate it to Black Lives Matter causes. And we were actually able to get Google to pitch in their part of the pie, because they take a service fee on all the revenue, and we got our partners at the Pokemon Company to agree. So Niantic, that amounted to well over $10 million that we committed, and then that was a roughly equivalent amount from Google and from the Pokemon Company. So for a company our size, it was, I think, a big commitment. We put it towards over $7 million, in fact, has already been distributed to nonprofits, Black-led nonprofits primarily, looking to lift up Black communities across the United States. And then we have committed around $5 million to Black creators to basically build AR experiences, game experiences that portray the Black perspective, and hopefully use the power of games to help people understand that part of our culture, in a better way. So, it's been a journey, and I'm proud that we're part of it. Obviously, it's an ongoing struggle and will be for many years, and we intend to remain committed to that.
Amazing. And so, in terms of the funding, I mean, how do developers go about? Do they have to go through an application process, or how does that work?
Yeah, we've done one round of that already. It's called the Black Creators Initiative, and we had over 40 teams come in. We spent time with those 40 teams, and we have now funded a couple of projects coming out of that. One of those is a group called Wicked Saints. They're working on an app called World Reborn, which is kind of an interactive story platform, which attempts to address prejudice, bullying, and some other pretty important issues through a game that's also a compelling story. So trying to weave in, a message that's impactful with an experience that's something that will attract an audience and attract users and others. So it's through that program. We've run one phase of that, and we're about to open up another phase for teams to submit, and looking for some more great candidates. We were really surprised by the quality of the entrants the first time around. So pent up demand out there of people that want to get involved in the industry and really, put that perspective forward. I guess games like film and TV and books and other areas, haven't always served all the points of view, as well as we could.
It was amazing to hear. You open up an opportunity and there's demand for it. It's brilliant to hear that you're seeing such high quality come through as well. So, and great to hear as well that Google and the Pokemon Company got involved in the donation piece as well. So well done on that. I thought you'd frozen, but you're back. So
yeah, I think I'm back.
You're back. We've got you. So I want to speak to you both about education, because I know, Ilkka, you're really passionate about education, and I know you've got a couple of initiatives with Hive in Helsinki, and you've got the speed schools in Ethiopia and Uganda. So can you tell me about each of these and how they came about and how they work, and what Supercell does as part of these?
Sure. So this is actually like the kind of one of the longest kind of initiatives that we have. So it's I think it's probably like 7 or even 8 years ago. We actually did our first survey among the Supercellians, and really the goal was trying to figure out what are the causes that they really care about, and education of kids came to be top at the time, and then they start to look for different kind of ways that they could sort of somehow like work and advance these important causes. And first of all, the reason I think that why people at Supercell care so much about the education is that they just see education as a way to give equal opportunities for everybody to kind of succeed in life. So, and one of the first initiatives that they sort of got on board with was we heard about this. We really were trying to do a pretty like broad search of the kind of projects that they could support, and then they found this really interesting concept called the speed schools. And really, what the concept is about is, in brief, it's sort of the idea is to return out of school kids to governmental schools by putting them to a speed school. And what this speed school does but it packs 3 years of school into just 10 months by using this sort of a play-based learning methods. And at the same time, like I mean, the concept isn't just about supporting kids; it also supports the parents, because at the same time they organize these parent help groups for the kind of the parents and help them to like figure out jobs and that type of thing. And we've done this in both Uganda and also in Ethiopia, and I think by now it has touched way more than 100,000 kids and obviously like many families, and the results have really been like fantastic. So I think if I remember correctly, like more than 90% of the speed school students, they actually do pass the government exam at the end of 10 months, and then they move to sort of the formal government schools. And we've also been working with the local governments to expand the speed school model to governmental schools. Then of course, if we are able to do this, then it would result in a very kind of a systematic or systemic change. So this is something that we are sort of very excited about, and and have been very passionate about. I think we've been now doing it and supporting this, I think, close to 7 years now. So it's one of our longest sort of kind of give back projects. And then the other thing that you just mentioned is a new type of coding school called Hive. So I many years back I encountered a school in Paris called the 42 or École 42, and it's founded and pioneered by a gentleman called Xavier Niel, who's a French legendary entrepreneur and founder, and also philanthropist and innovator. And the idea of a school is relatively simple. So first of all, it has no teachers. So it's based on this peer-to-peer kind of learning method, and basically like the students get very practical coding assignments, and then they form groups and try to complete them, and it's really like it's really amazing. The results like from Paris have been really amazing, and then what we did is that we kind of Supercell helped set up a foundation. We basically guaranteed funding for that foundation for the next 5 years, and then we basically took this kind of 42 model and sort of licensed it for our use, and then kind of created a little bit of our own version of it. And one of our like biggest focus areas here for our school here in Helsinki is actually like is sort of diversity. So as everybody knows, like we just need more. We need a broader group of people like to come to the tech industry, and especially to the games industry, and especially to become game developers. And we need to, for example, get girls into coding. And we one of our goals, like when we set this school up, was to do exactly that. And so far the results have been good. And of course, there's still ways to go, but I think the kind of team did something amazing, that they were actually able to build a school that it clearly attracts talent, not just from the kind of traditional avenues where you get usually like boys into coding, but much broader group of people, and just very, very excited about this as well.
That's incredible. And it just sounds like it's a model that could be used all over the world. It's just like both of them. I love this whole idea of speed school. It's incredible. I feel like we need it in the UK. But yeah, amazing results as well. It's really working. John, I know that you've been involved in educational projects as well. Can you tell us a little bit more about, we've got a couple of initiatives like Game Heads and Tech Row, and anything else you want to touch on within the educational space?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I just want to say that I think that, you know, what Supercell is doing is inspiring and really sets a standard for the rest of the industry in this area. And I commend Ilkka on that leadership. We are doing a few things in education. One of the more interesting things, you know, to touch on a point that Ilkka raised, which I think is important about attracting diversity into the industry, is a project called Game Heads. Game Heads is an amazing nonprofit based in Oakland, California. It started with some help, I think, from Michelle Obama originally. But it's really about getting kids in secondary schools involved in making games as an entry point into computer science and coding, as well as the creative arts. And it's now a pretty mature program. They have a big celebration every year where, you know, these teams work on projects together and then show them off. And the last one that happened in person, you know, before COVID, there was rap music, there were tamales from, you know, the Latin community, and there was this incredibly diverse set of kids of all kinds of ethnic backgrounds, you know, who had come together and worked on these game projects. They were showing them off. They were practicing their public speaking skills, pitching to this room full of supporters and fans and sponsors, and it was inspiring. So we have gotten more deeply involved with that group. You know, we most recently have created a game design certificate program with Cal State East Bay, which is the, you know, California State college system here in East Bay, in Oakland, California, to basically make the industry more accessible to people who've got talent, who've got the desire, and just haven't necessarily had a path that was open to them or that felt welcoming to them. So we're trying to build some bridges there to get some of these incredibly talented kids into the industry. The other way that we've approached education, you know, kind of flipping it in a completely different direction, is, you know, through our mission of getting people out in the world and just walking around and learning about historical places. You know, we partnered with a really great nonprofit in the UK called Big Heritage a couple of years ago, who produce, or, you know, prior to COVID, produced, you know, events in different places, but most notably in Chester in the UK, which, you know, as I'm sure the UK residents know, it was a Roman settlement site and is steeped in history. We basically gamified the experience, and we had over 18,000 people playing Pokemon Go in the midst of this history celebration, walking around town. Over 88% of the people who had come playing the game said that they learned something about history while they were there. So it was taking this kind of slightly bookish kind of activity of learning history and combining it with the power of games to make it a whole family experience that, you know, everybody was excited about, and you know, was a way to have fun and also learn at the same time. So I think there's that side of games and education, which is really about making the educational process about exploration and fun, to facilitate learning, you know, to, you know, hide the vegetables, you know, make it feel great, but have some substance happening underneath.
Yeah,
I wish I could have learned about history that way when I was growing up.
Me too. Absolutely.
It would be much more enjoyable, wouldn't it, than just big dusty textbooks? Yeah, definitely. I mean, just to touch on kind of Game Heads and Hive, I mean, have you, it might be a bit too early to say, but, you know, have you seen kind of increased demand because of the pandemic, more people playing or more people looking at, you know, jobs online and considering game development as an option?
Yeah, I'm actually curious to hear what do you think about this? I think.
John, I'll ask you that one first. Sorry, I should have.
At least for us, like I think, you know, there's always been like huge interest on this type of thing. So I don't know, like if pandemic as such like really made a big difference, like from our vantage point. But curious to hear from John. Like, what do you think?
I don't know. I think it's probably too early to say. You would think with the absolute, you know, boom in people spending time with games, that it might play into people's thinking about, you know, what they want to do professionally, you know, particularly as these, you know, a lot of these younger kids who were kind of trapped at home during pandemic. But I guess we'll see. I think there's still a lot of obstacles for large segments of the global population to get into the industry, and there's a lot of work to do to kind of create those on-ramps to get access to that talent. But it's out there, and the inspiring thing is when whenever these little experiments happen and you see, oh my gosh, there's all this incredible pent-up talent in people all over the world that's really just waiting for a place for it to be applied, in a useful way. It's one of the things that gives me hope about kind of our future as a planet. Is there's so much untapped human potential out there in the world, and if we can find ways to get at it, there's so much more that we can do.
Exactly. And games are the perfect vehicle to do that. So I want to. You're both doing incredible initiatives internally with employees, externally with players, but and it's great to hear about kind of employees really engaging with making a difference. And we're seeing kind of more and more. I guess the new generations coming through want to do that. But how are you seeing kind of player reactions to impact? I mean, are you seeing more demand from players, or players really engaging when you do something that's impactful? Ilkka, I'll start with yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's very clear that the players are becoming more unaware of these type of things, and obviously more and more games are also doing stuff in game, around these type of causes, and like our probably the most recent example that we did at Supercell was this Play for Trees campaign that we had in our game called Heyday, which is a farming game, and it was sort of a give back marketing campaign meant to engage the Heyday community with an in-game kind of charity event, and it was of course open to all the players, and really this whole event, the goal was pretty simple. So it was about reviving trees, and the idea was that players would revive kind of virtual trees in the game, but then as a result, we would then kind of protect trees in the real world, and the end result, I think, is something that we felt pretty proud of. So I think they're able to kind of protect like 1 million trees, and in Zimbabwe, the place was called Lake Kariba, and it was really amazing also to see the excitement in the community about the campaign, and this is definitely that they want to do more, and we kind of see several benefits. Of course, it's really interesting and engaging sort of gameplay content, so it's great for the players and they're having a lot of fun, but at the same time it's sort of help us to raise awareness for a very, very important cause, and then we can also tie it to some very tangible kind of great things that we can do, for example, now we protected this kind of a forest area of 1 million trees. So we definitely look forward to doing more of those things, and I'm sure that you'll see more and more those type of things in many games around the world.
For sure. John, what about yourself? How have you seen your players react?
Yeah, I would agree with Ilkka. I think players, we talked about employees kind of wanting that part of their identity. They want to bring that part of their identity to work with them, and they want to feel like they're serving that when they're doing their work. And I think for our audience, for the people who play the games, the good news for people out there the good news is that they want it. We did our annual sustainability campaign, and we offered a custom player avatar, a T-shirt to show that, to show support, and we had over 1 million players, who wanted to wear that T-shirt around to show that they supported that they're involved in that. So, it just shows it as part of people's identity, and they're looking for ways to apply it. We worked with the National Parks Foundation here in the US and did a promotion with them where we enabled donations to happen amongst the players. And not only did they beat the donation goal, but they found that 80% of the people who donated were new donors to them. So, you've got a generation of people out there that want to be involved. They want to roll up their sleeves and do work, but they also have money that they want to put to work against these causes. And they're just sort of waiting to be, for those opportunities. So obviously with games being such a massive force in media worldwide, that's it's going to be part of that place that people get connected with the causes that they want to put their talents against to try to solve some of these hard problems that we face as a planet, as a society.
Exactly. And this is brilliant. I've got so many questions that we haven't covered yet, and 5 minutes left. So I just want to try and cover two quick questions. The first one really is about kind of the power of the industry, what we could be doing, or what potential there is to unlock. I mean, recently we did the People's Climate Vote, and we posted a poll out through 2,000 games globally across 50 markets. And to your points of being able to reach people, in all corners of the planet, all ages, all backgrounds. We had the biggest poll ever on climate action that's ever been taken, and this was only possible through gaming. It was only because of the pure scale and speed. There's no other way that these results could have been pulled together in such a time frame, and that just kind of shows the power of what we could unlock in the industry. But what do you think the industry could do? And this could be on any topic that you care most passionately about. It could be climate, education, it could be about health and well-being, but what are the smart things the industry could be doing to come together to make a big change, to make an impact? John, I'll start with you because you look
Well, look, there's so much we can do. I mean, I think designing products, like starting at the product design level and thinking about how can this product encourage behaviors that are going to be positive for the planet, positive for our players. I mean, obviously exercise and real world social interactions, that's was our starting point, but there's so much more. Like I think as an industry we're still waiting for sort of the nomad land of gaming, to sort of cite the Oscar winning film this year, a film that was able to be commercially distributed and worked as a product, but had an incredibly powerful message wrapped in this beautiful artistic form. And I think games have the same potential to impact and move people in the way that a film like that does. We haven't gotten there really as a technology and as an art form, but people are trying, and you see more and more indie efforts every year, which sort of push the envelope in that direction. And I think we're going to see that breakthrough and really in the next handful of years, because I think people in their 20s today grew up with games and they really see them as an equal kind of art form to film and television and books. And I think we're going to see that kind of purpose-driven artistic creation that works commercially, but also really helps move people's opinion in important areas. And I'm excited about that. There will be a real coming of age moment, I think, for the gaming industry.
Yeah, I completely agree with John. I mean, there's so much more we can do as an industry, and I am also very, very optimistic. I definitely share your optimism there, and I would also like point out that I think, I think games have like one unique advantage, like also like as a kind of form of entertainment, if you compare them to like say books or films or movies, and the advantage is that games, they're not linear, they are like interactive form of entertainment, and I think that's a great way to get people a lot more engaged in these type of things, and I think there's like so much more we could do to kind of leverage that. And then I think the other really great thing about games, especially in today's world, is that it really brings people together from all kinds of backgrounds and countries, etc. And I honestly believe that games is one of these things in today's world that actually makes the world a kind of a smaller place in a very good way. And I just fundamentally believe that great things happen when human beings interact with each other. And even though you come from very, very different backgrounds, but then it probably like when you have a dialogue like with other people who are just different than you, I think usually like great things happen. So I think games can be very, very powerful in that regard as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that.
Completely. And just what a way to end the panel, and I've got goosebumps because I just think that just ended it so beautifully. And I wanted to talk about leadership, but we are completely out of time. But I just think you two are the most inspiring leaders, and thank you for empowering your teams, your players to take action. And I think you are completely inspiring to the new wave of game developers and founders who will come into the industry. in the next few years. So thank you so much for your time and discussion, and so much more to talk about, but we just don't have enough time. So thank you, and hopefully get to see you in person soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Back to Janet now. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jude, John, and Ilkka, for sharing with us how the big names in the games sector are ahead of the curve in addressing climate change in your daily practices. With COP26 coming up in the UK in November, I'm sure a lot of people in the audience today will be checking out the Playing for the Planet Alliance and your pioneering practices. It's also really inspiring to hear your stories about how you're espousing other social causes too, with equal opportunity at the heart of it, using the power of games in a different way to promote positive social change with a 360-degree perspective, engaging in-game with users, with employees and future employees, with next generation young people through education and through their parents in the global community. It sounds to me like you're offering a triple bottom line opportunity for people, profit and planet. Certainly a fresh perspective on the CreaTech stage over the last 2 days. And for one, I can't wait to see games make the world a smaller place in a good way, and through purpose-driven artistic creation, put forward the nomad land of gaming and take your rightful place alongside other competing entertainment forms. Thanks so much for your time, and I look forward to our last session now, 6 o'clock, not to be missed, on the CreaTech stage. Only 14 minutes to go. See you then. Bye-bye.